Hey everybody, I'm Stacy
And I'm Rachel,
and we are
the Civic Bitch Slap, and welcome to our edition called Circle Back Mondays, which this is actually a special show of Circle Back Mondays that we're recording on a Tuesday. You're
Sometimes it
welcome.
happens that way.
Yes.
We all know life gets busy. So just as a reminder, on this program, we cover headlines you may or may not have seen. It's sort of we're alluding to Jen Psaki and the circle back gesture that she says like a million times every single press.
But we're not
briefing.
kind of alluding. We are full on making fun of her. Yes.
It's funny. So I actually was on the phone with one of my lawmakers this morning, and I had an email to send him, and he texted me back. He's like, I got your email and I'll circle back to you. And it took all of my self-control not to text him back and say, don't ever say that again. And with that, we'll go ahead and get right into our first Circle Back Monday, Tuesday article. Here we go. This is like one of
I
my
love this one.
favorite things ever. Trump continues to show his prowess. So for those who are listening and not watching, this article is about a legal move Trump made, forbidding GOP entities legally to use his name or his likeness, sent them legal notice that they are to cease and desist right away because they're using him to raise money.
And he knows that there is, because like the GOP has shown over the past couple of months after Biden was inaugurated, it's been very clear, like at the county levels and the state leadership, that people are like, no, we want Trump. We want to make America great again. We want that platform. You know, we're not having it with the establishment, but he's not stupid. He knows that there's always going to be like the power maneuver. People are going to want to fundraise off of him, right? But then turn around and stab in the back.
Yes, no other political candidate has been so betrayed in the history of this country, I swear. So again, for people that are listening and not watching, he sent these letters to the three big organizations: the Republican National Committee, the National Republican Senatorial Committee, and the National Republican Congressional Committee. So He means business. I love it.
I love the long game that he plays. This is such a chess move, because now the only way that they can use his likeness is if he gives them permission, and he can control like how they use it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yep.
Brilliant move.
So right on to our next article. You know, anybody who had any curiosity at all or powers of observation whatsoever knew where things were going to go with the Biden administration. And here you have a Democrat bill would stop future presidents from lowering refugee intake quota. And during the Obama administration, the numbers of refugees that were resettled in the United States was explosive, just huge. And it's a political maneuver. They can say over and over and over again that it is a humanitarian move, and it very well may be that, but it's full of corruption and loopholes, and it is dilutive to our sovereignty. And a lot of people don't understand the way that this program actually works. It's administered not by the United States. The refugee resettlement program is administered through the UN. And then we don't get to select where we get our refugees from. So, I think a lot of us would love to be helping Coptic Christians who are really under assault in different parts of the world. But no. That's not what goes on with us. So
I remember this going on. Oh my goodness. It was during the Obama administration. I do remember, ISIS, when they were trying to build up their caliphate. And I cannot remember for the life of me the name of. Glenn Beck has a nonprofit, and like him, don't like him, whatever. That's neither here nor there. But he was literally, because we weren't. They were saying there were all these people were refugees, but they weren't actually refugees.
Yeah.
And the people who truly needed rescuing were just being left. And so he used part of the funds from his nonprofit. He was literally going over and rescuing Coptic Christians from like Iraq, and I forget somewhere else, and like
Syria, probably.
get out. And there was actually some incredible, I want to say he did a couple of videos on it, maybe even like a mini
So
documentary.
I know that there is one organization that really does yeoman's work in a lot of areas, and this is one of them, and it's called Samaritan's Purse. And as a matter of fact, it was during the really high bad days of COVID in New York that Samaritan's Purse went into New York and they set up facilities to try to help. And in true fashion of a progressive Democrat, the governor wants to make them pay taxes for the days that they were there. They're nothing if not predictable. So anyway, the Democrats
and you know what?
want
If the
to
governor wanted them
to make permanent this program that is dilutive to the United States. Talk about the antithesis of America first. This is to make sure we keep diluting America. And these people who come here with refugee status, they get more benefits, by the way, than our combat veterans, and they get moved to the front of the line. It's infuriating. These are the priorities of the Democrats. Sorry.
Yes. And to that point, when you're saying they get more benefits, this goes back to one of the previous episodes when we talked about all the things that the kids that were, by the way, that are in their cages, they're in the same exact facilities that people were up in arms about Trump, that they are getting in-person education, that they're getting mental health services, all of this. It's the same sort of thing. Also, we talk about language and how the left uses language. And I do remember that we talked about this back under the Obama era, because people kept saying, oh, these are just refugees. And there's a difference between, and I can't remember what the other word, I've been sitting here trying to think of it while we've been talking about this article, but there's a refugee and there's what's the other word? An
asylee.
Yes. An asylum seeker. And understanding the difference, not only in a language context, but also a legal context. And we're not going to get into all of that, but interesting.
It's worth noting. It really is.
Definitely go research it and see how it's manipulated, and how the left uses language and these emotions and what you imagine in your mind when you're hearing this to get to tug at heartstrings so that this becomes okay.
Or even listen to the language in this bill. It's called the Lady Liberty Act of 2021. Unbelievable. They're so them. That's all I can say. Oh, goodness. Okay.
Liberty. Can we say that anymore? I mean, I know we just had International Women's Day, but that seems pretty specific.
Yeah.
Lady Liberty Act.
Lady Liberty. Whatever. Come on. All right. So this next article also really highlights how the thirst for power from the left will never be enough. And it's this article where the Congressman Clyburn from South Carolina is calling to end the filibuster for voting rights bill that's coming up. It's not enough that they have a majority in the House and in the Senate and that they have the presidency. They want to break those rules, and they're furious with people, with the handful of Democrats who voted against the $15 an hour minimum wage bill. So this is how they're working to get around that. That's what they're doing here.
When are they going to learn, though, when they change these rules? I feel like they do this and it's always come back to bite them in the ass every single time. Hashtag remember Harry Reid.
Nuclear option. I mean, I remember the day that happened, and I had posted on my own social media, he's going to rue the day that he did this. And it certainly didn't take very long. It really didn't. So, and the whole thing with this handful of Democrats who are voting against these progressive measures and policies, it really goes to show you that the power is not in DC. The power is in the district. If it were otherwise, they would be voting with DC, and they are voting to save their seats. That's what that vote against their own party line really represents.
Yep. I think we briefly talked about this. What was it? Senator Sinema from Arizona. We were talking about that the other day, and why that's so interesting that she went against Democrats and what that actually says about Arizona and whether it is actually purple or more red. So
yeah, yep.
And there's elections coming up, Senate race here. So
yeah. So again, for those who are listening and not watching, the article is from Axios, and it's referencing an interview that James Clyburn did with the Guardian that was published on Sunday, and he was urging his Democrat colleagues to find a way to work around the filibuster. So isn't the filibuster in the Senate? And he's a House member. Yeah, so he's a House member trying to influence what the Senate is doing.
Yep. Yeah. And we'll have links to all these in the show notes too, to all these articles. So
okay. So
because I know there's me sometimes on my end and you can't see it, but I put my fingers on the keypad because I forget that you're screen sharing, and I'm like trying to like scroll the article. I'm like, oh wait, nope, that's not.
I do that sometimes too when someone is screen sharing. Okay. And speaking of screen sharing, here's our next article. So it is from The Hill, and the title of the article is Pentagon, No Plan to Change Food Vendor Contracts for National Guard at the Capitol. Oh, sorry, hold on.
While we're at it, can we ask them if they can change like parking garage vendors? I mean, at this point, like
really,
it's insane. I mean, they the way that they have been treated. I mean, outside of the fact that they're even still there, we're in March now.
I know,
almost
it's
middle
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know if people do or don't know what happened. The National Guard that is, as Rachel is saying, still in DC doing goodness only knows what, protecting us from what? I don't know, or the lawmakers. They're certainly not protecting us, but
it's it's all optics.
I know it's but they don't understand how horrible the optics really are. It's the people's house, and they're keeping people in general away.
But they're trying to blame that. What's interesting is that, all this stuff has come out that related to January 6th, that there were requests, right, for National Guard to be there, and they were denied from multiple different angles. And the key reason being optics. We can't have DC occupied. It's optics. But yet when they're in power, they want that because they're switching the optics and trying to make it like, look, it's still, this country is so divisive and there's still so much hate and violence from the right that we have to have them here.
Yeah.
By the way, you're going to have to sleep in a parking garage. And even after we get caught doing that and there's an outrage, we're still going to have you sleep in a parking garage more than a month later.
Yeah, but we're just going to make sure that the media doesn't cover the fact that the National Guard are being forced to sleep in a parking garage.
Yes. And oh, by the way, your food is going to be completely undercooked and make you sick, and you're going to have to be hospitalized, but we're not going to change food vendors.
No, we're not going to have that. And I mean, it's so laughable because I remember the people who are Biden supporters on their social media channels saying, oh, it's going to be so great to have a president who really loves the troops and knows how to treat them. I'm like, okay, you do you.
Yeah. How does that feel to live in complete and total denial?
I mean, I have so many stories of people that engaged, military families who Trump engaged during his presidency in the most brutal, tragic, awful moments of their lives. So I don't want to hear it.
I know. And I think to go back to even the earlier articles and talking about the difference and what the priorities are of this administration, just, you mentioned our veterans, these refugees and the immigrants, illegal immigrants that are pouring into our country
with COVID,
are getting better. They're getting better services than even our National Guard in DC.
Yep.
in our nation's capital.
This really just continues to show the priorities of the left. It's so heartbreaking. And now, I mean,
you know what's interesting? Hold on, I just had a thought here. This like just came to me. Roll with it. Is you know how they were wanted to make sure that basically there weren't Trump supporters of National Guard that were in DC. Remember, they were like interviewing, they were looking at their social media going back so many years, if they belong to different organizations. And part of me now, I'm like, not only is that like, okay, there's a litmus test, right? Like a loyalty test, but I wonder what that's doing. Number one, I have a hard time believing that all of the National Guard troops there actually are Biden supporters. Some of them, it's like a don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah.
You know, their mouth shut. But then the ones that are they being like dissuaded by this, seeing how they're being treated? Or did they intentionally want them there because they're like, oh, if they're supportive, they're more likely to make an excuse and have like cognitive dissonance and not think it's a big deal? I don't know. Just
it'll be interesting. And, you know, I think the entire campaign and following it, and now it's even worse, but there was never a lot of Biden support. It was Trump disapproval and, you know, let's just be honest, outright hatred.
Yeah.
Sorry, cat in the way.
I saw her tail.
I know. I'm like, she's watching her tail. I know, you can see her anyway.
Yeah.
These are the hazards.
She's a good sidekick.
She is. She's my executive producer.
That's awesome.
So Biden supporters don't really support Biden, and they never did. They just hated Trump. And now they've gone from hating Trump overtly to being very, very quiet about any sort of support for Biden that ever was there before. I mean, they should be ashamed of themselves. Who didn't see this coming?
Oh, no, we all saw this coming. Anybody that didn't have their head stuck up there, you know.
Wazoo.
Yeah.
So this next story is going to be two different articles. And I think it's important to juxtapose these headlines and what you see going on here. You know, we've all seen or heard some instance of what's happening with kids being in school or not being in school. And Governor Gavin Newsom is being recalled, and he's trying desperately to get back in the good graces of the people in his state. And one of those things he's trying to do is open schools. So let's look at the article where he's discussing that. Here we go. Gavin Newsom signs school reopening deal, pressuring districts to get kids back into class, spending $2 billion to do this by April 1st. So
the mental gymnastics that leftists have to do to keep in line. Wow, it's up there with some religions. I mean, this is just insane to me. Like, how can you not see this entire this if you put this past year on a timeline and take all the things that like the governors and different localities and school districts did about not having kids in school, and then and relate that to power, right? And then see the peak of like recall Newsom, and that, like, how can you not see this?
Well, and the whole thing, I have a lot of friends that live in California, and I know a lot of them were so upset because it looked like they weren't going to let kids go back to school until 2022. You know, can you imagine? Like, our children will never catch up. I mean, you know, you have all these other countries that are excelling in math and science and so many things that really are required to be successful in today's economy. And what are we doing? Keeping our children home and forcing them to hate the country. So it's like a Forrest Gump meme that makes itself. And just like that, Governor Newsom, one of the kids back in school.
I know.
And so he's trying to deal with that. And meanwhile, this article, Los Angeles Teachers Union votes to resist a premature return to school sites. So teachers unions, largely Democrat, just shoved it in his butt.
Oh gosh.
So funny. So funny.
I love it when they like eat their own like that. You know what I mean? But like, wait, throw me a bone, please. I want to stay in power. We're on the same side. You know what I
we're
mean?
supposed to be together. We're supposed to be together. Come on, we're trying to make it all work together. No.
Yeah.
So
that's so funny.
So along the lines of a little buyer's remorse.
Oh gosh.
File this under, are you kidding me? Did you really think that this was going to be any differently? So this is a tweet that I found from Breaking 911 where pro-life evangelicals for Biden are furious with him because of the lifting of the Hyde Amendment in the COVID-19 relief package that was just passed, which has something to do with now forcing taxpayers to fund abortions. So it was a big, great pro-life movement. And I mean,
what we already knew not like, are people this stupid? I mean, I feel like this is like the unions with the pipeline.
Yeah.
And you know, all the unions that endorsed Biden. And then what was it? Not even 2 weeks later. Bye-bye jobs. Bye-bye union jobs.
Bye. Listen, so I'm going to read this for those of you who are listening, and I'm just a portion of it. The Biden team wanted to talk to us during the campaign to gain our support, and we gave it on the condition there would be active dialogue and common ground solutions on the issue of abortion. Meanwhile, let me interject here and remind everybody that Donald J. Trump was the most pro-life president in the history of the United States, period. Okay, back to reading. There has been no dialogue since the campaign. We feel used and betrayed and have no intention of simply watching these kinds of efforts happen from the sidelines. Many evangelicals and Catholics took risks to support Biden publicly. President Biden and Democrats need to honor their courage. Whatever. Anyway, you get what you get.
Didn't BLM, am I remembering this incorrectly? Because they didn't get invited. They thought they were going to be invited to the White House and and that never happened either. And I want to say some of them even, I don't know that they issued something.
There was a statement that said like X days after he's inaugurated and we still haven't met in person.
Yeah, that's what it was. But then now they're all like up in arms with each other because local chapters are like, where's the money? Oh, why didn't you ask Joe Biden? Like, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like, are you literally, these people have been so manipulated and used. And then there's people like us going, we could have told you this was going to happen.
Yeah, it's literally like anything you've seen in the media, 180 degrees out. I mean, they were all over Governor Ron DeSantis about his handling of the virus, saying that he was destroying people's lives, he's going to be killing people, and lauding Governor Andrew Cuomo for, he is the shining example of how to deal with the virus. Not so much. And so now, what is it? 5 accusers? Are we up to 5? I know 5.
We're 6. No, 6. There's a new one. Yep, 6.
So if you want to have any greater understanding of the hypocrisy of the media, just imagine the headlines if there were 6 women coming out and saying that Ron DeSantis did this. What would the media be? Oh my gosh, he should be in jail. They should hang them, and believe all women. Yep. Believe all women. Yeah, so much for that. So, all right, this is our last piece. And this is from the CDC and our fancy new guidelines.
Oh my gosh, right? As if you can't keep up. But yeah, so I saw this came across, was it yesterday or?
Yes, it was yesterday.
Yesterday. And I'm like, wait, what? But of course, what's interesting about this article, so the headline, so this is from Bloomberg, if you want to scroll back up, CDC says vaccinated people can visit each other mask-free. But then when you get into the article, it talks about it's only vaccinated people with each other indoors in private that can be without their mask. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure people in private behind closed doors have been having their masks off anyway, because
it's ridiculous.
You know what I mean?
Is like this the same group that said that if you in the days of COVID, if you wanted to have sex with your partner, that you should just have a shower curtain between you with a hole in it?
Oh, we don't want to go down that route because there were several guidelines in different countries, different things about sexual relations and how you should do it and positions and wearing masks and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? No. But what's interesting, but then it says if you're out in public, that you should still wear your mask and you should still practice social distancing, because even if you've had the vaccine,
here it is. Yes.
You can still give it to people who are unvaccinated, and you should still stay away from people who are like have a higher risk or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and
isn't that like,
doesn't it sort of do away with the whole reason for the vaccine?
Yeah. Oh, and it says like you still shouldn't travel and, you know, get in closed spaces. And I'm like, hold on. But what's interesting about this article is it's basically saying you should like isolate the portion of the population that is at greater risk. I'm like, isn't that what we should have done basically from the beginning? And if you can still pass it and be asymptomatic, even if you've been vaccinated, like there's just so much. My head is spinning on a swivel when you actually read the article that I'm like,
nothing makes any sense. No. It hasn't for a very long time. I mean, even with the stupid regulations with the mask in a restaurant, because the virus is not able to actually live at the table where you can take your mask off. It's a hard no, a hard stop right there at the table.
Oh yeah. Or like some restaurants, they want you to like keep your mask on, and they literally want you to have it on in between bites and sips. Yeah, no, I will be going somewhere else. Or like they won't deliver your food to your table if you don't have your mask on.
It's crazy. Living in an age
like why I cannot wait until we can just let businesses choose what they want to do. If there's a business owner that wants to make wearing masks a rule, so be it. And all the people that want to wear masks and want to put their mask on between bites can go there. And then like the businesses who don't, people who don't want to wear them.
I mean, that would be a really novel concept. We could call it freedom, liberty, something like that, like a new thing.
I know.
Great.
It's crazy. But I mean, stay tuned, because I'm sure the CDC, you know, as we learn more about this virus, will update their guidelines.
Yeah, the virus that Trump said was going to go away magically after the election. And here we are. Today is March 9th. And Biden has been in office, 2 months?
Mm-hmm.
Not even 2 months. And there's state after state relaxing guidelines. The CDC, letting things go a little bit back to normal at a time. And yeah, we're just supposed to believe this was all on the up and up.
Which, by the way, I know we didn't include a headline in here, but it was kind of a headline people were talking about. Like, I think it's been how many days since Biden has done his own press conference?
Oh,
like he's gone the longest over any president in 100 years. To the point people are like, where's Biden? Why doesn't he come out and talk? Oh, because he has a stutter, that dang stutter.
That dang stutter. Oh, don't be so hateful. So everybody, if you want to send us an email with questions or comments or ideas for shows, it's thecivicbitchslap at protonmail.com. And you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. So
that's right. Yeah. And if you're following us on Rumble, be sure to subscribe. And then Rumble, there's that little green bell. If you click that, then you'll get notifications anytime we upload more episodes.
Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.